this budget to you, and I'm just going to take a few minutes to review it over with you. Firstly, we're going to look at how it's structured. In the income area, we take into account tuition, which is the fees that are charged for the children. The fees are also include subsidy. So any changes you make in that, the parents would make up the difference from what they get for subsidy and what your center is charging. You have a total income that comes from fees. Obviously, this is the most significant way that you gain income in a center. And we've also set this budget up so that you can make significant changes and it will automatically do it for you. So for example, we have 12 infants enrolled in the program right now. And if we choose to change the number of infants to 13, watch this number right here, you'll see that it changed. If we decided that $550 wasn't enough money to charge and we want to charge $575 for our toddlers, watch this number. And you can see that it changed as well. And it also changed this number here. So the budget is structured for you so that you can play around with it, make your changes, and then see what that impact of that is going to be. So please don't be intimidated by this. For those of you that haven't done a lot of work with budgeting, it's really structured to give you an opportunity to play with it and see what you think. So we're going to change these numbers back to 550 here and to 12 here. And the reason that I'm doing that is I want to point out this number down here, which is our total income. Total income and this number here, which is your total expenses, need to be identical. Notice that they are right now, and that's why I needed to change it back. You will make 3 changes at least in this budget, but as you do that, you also need to make sure this number and this number, your total income and your total expenses, are the same. Now I'll just scoot back up again. Let's look at your other income. The initial enrollment fees assume that you're going to have some turnover in your center over the course of a year. In this case, we've budgeted $25, and it's the amount of money that you pay per child when you do an enrollment. And we've said that they're going to be $25, and it's $2,500. The next item is the food subsidy. And what I've done is I've created a subsidy for you. I've used FCSS as an agency where you could get funding for food for children. And actually I have, when I worked in a daycare, I was able to get funding from the city for our hot lunch program. And it was through the FCSS programs. So you could do that. And I've given a little bit of money, $5,000, not that much. The interest is $600, and what that is, why it's included in your income, is we're assuming, and rightly so I'm sure, that there is some money set aside that you're getting interest from. And that number needs to stay there. Grants is the next one down. In the grants, you can get grants from a lot of different places. For example, FCSS is an agency, a government agent. Well, it's not really a government agency, but it's an agency that works with the city or municipality to provide services. So you could apply to them for funding. There are several agencies like the Rotaries, those kinds of people you can apply for, and there's also foundations that you can apply for funding for to increase the grants. If you choose to increase your income by increasing your grants, I would expect that you've done just a little bit of research and you can tell me what agencies you're applying to, and how much you expect to get from that. You don't have to go into a lot of detail, but you need to show that you've done a little bit of research. And the next way of gathering more income is fundraising activities. And I mean, they're varied. And whatever you think you'd like to do, work with parents, that kind of thing, in order to create more money for your program, you're certainly free to do it in this space. But again, you need to tell me how you came up with the money you came up with. We have a total here, $14,300, that's coming from other income. It's income, but it's not tied to the tuition. And the other number you need to look at here is your estimated vacancy rate. This is fairly standard. What we're assuming is over the course of the year, not all of your spaces will be full. And so we've taken 1% of your total tuition and put it in as your vacancy rate. And again, that's deducted from your total income and is pretty standard. So we have a total income here. And again, that total income needs to be the same as our total expenses, no matter what we do with the budget. Next part of the budget is the expenses. In there, we're looking at our salaries. And we know that salaries are the main expense that you're going to have in the center. Our total personnel costs are over on the side here. And these numbers, again, as if you make any changes in them, it will change it here. If you make any changes in these numbers here, it will change it here, which will change this number. They're all tied together. If you decide, for example, that you want to cut your cook and you want the children to bring food from home for their lunches, then you could make a change here and say we're not going to have a cook anymore, and so that isn't an expense we have. But just remember, if that's the case, you have to deduct your food subsidy because it's tied to your hot lunch program. If you decide that you are going to cut custodial services and gain some extra money that way that you can use to increase salaries, then you need to tell me how you intend to keep your center clean so that you meet regulations. So you can go through and make any changes you want. All I'm asking you to do is make sure that you can tell me why you've done that and what you expect the impact of those changes to be. They're many and varied, and we're going to have to live with them, whatever they are. But there are impacts from everything that you choose to do with this budget. Just a reminder, the subsidy is calculated in the tuition rate, and we expect parent fees to make the difference. So if you raise the tuition rate in order to raise more income, then you need to realize that the parents are going to be paying more money. Maybe that's okay, and you can talk about that. And maybe it isn't, and you could talk about that as well. So I think that just about covers, oh no it doesn't. We've been working on what is a good copy, but I've got 2 copies of the exact same budget for you. One is your practice, and I expect you to play around in practice, make whatever changes you want to make, do whatever you want to do with it in practice. But the one that I'll be marking is your good copy. This is the one I'll be looking at and ensuring that you do have balanced budget, okay, that you have thought through your changes that you made on it as I'm reviewing the write-up that you've done. So I think that just about covers it. If you have any questions or concerns, be sure and give me a call and we can talk. Have fun. ELCC 315 sample budget. I want to explain this budget to you, and I'm just going to take a few minutes.